Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our first meeting of 2026. This is the third year of our operation, and we're excited that you're here, both physically and for everyone joining us online. Hope you're nice and warm. So for today, we'll do a quick welcome, which we typically do at our meetings. The topic of discussion will be the backyard astronomy tips for beginners. We'll go through some upcoming events, both from UACNJ and our club. We'll open it up for discussion. This is where if you have a question or just want to have an open discussion with the group, we can. And then we'll go outside to do some telescope observing because the clouds should be clear for us to do so. It's cold, so I hope you brought your hat, your gloves. In fact, that's one of the tips that I'll have later in the presentation to discuss. Sounds good? Yeah. Cool. Right, so this is our mission statement we showed at the start of every club meeting that we host. In essence, just to condense it for you right now, it just says, if you're interested in astronomy, come out to our club meetings. They're free, they're open to everyone. You don't have to be from East Brunswick to attend. And at the bottom, we always include this line, if you do have a telescope, feel free to bring it with you. Um, Maybe you're struggling with it, you got it for over the holidays, and you're having trouble, you're having issues, or you just want to join in on the fun and bring your own. You can. Um, we'll battle the lights that are outside as much as we can, but we'll make the best of it. We'll do it in a group, and hopefully we learn from each other. And like I said, this is the presentation for today. We were thinking maybe a bunch of folks maybe got their first telescope over the holidays, or maybe they just want a refresher on what some good astronomy tips may be as I get started in the hobby. And what I will do, I'll go through a couple different overall tips with some details. But if you maybe were discussing looking at conditions and I go over Astrospheric, which is one of the apps that are available to use. Maybe you can share the app that you use and how it's worked for you to check weather conditions, cloud cover, and things like that. So I want this to be open, please. This may be just the way that I've been able to manage and get started in the hobby, but there are many ways to do it. There are many apps and solutions. So I would be happy if you would contribute as well what some of those tips are on your end. And for folks who may not know me, my name is Isaac Osores. I'm a 3D printing hobbyist. I have, I think, 3 printers at home at this point, but that's my favorite one so far. I am an amateur astronomer. My telescope, you'll see it later when we go outside. It's the big space cannon, I like to call it. You might have seen it at East Brunswick Day. That picture does not do it justice at all. I am the current president of the East Brunswick Astronomy Club and a NASA Solar System ambassador, which just means I like to go out and do community events to spread interest with regards to NASA missions, astronomy, and things of the sort. And I forgot I added this animation. Just so you know, you can add 3D models into PowerPoint presentations and you can animate them. There's actually a bunch of different things that you can have the model do, which I think is pretty cool. So maybe the best place to start is to talk about what is backyard astronomy. Does anyone want to take a guess or take a shot at what that might be? Like, what would you describe it as?
Any astronomy you could do from your backyard.
Yeah, basically. Amateur, done in the backyard, of course. So in essence, a hobby where participants enjoy observing or imaging celestial objects in the sky using the unaided eye, binoculars, or telescopes. So normally when you think of astronomy, you probably think of the bulky telescope like I was discussing earlier, but you can just go outside and enjoy the night sky once your eyes get used to the dark. Certainly binoculars is something that's often overlooked as you get started in the hobby. You jump straight to telescopes, but you could, maybe invest in binoculars to get started navigating the night sky that way instead. And then, of course, telescopes. But yeah, essentially, it's just another term for amateur astronomy. Something we're just doing in the comfort of our own backyard, where we can, make mistakes and learn. So the first one that I have for you is plan ahead. Certainly check your typical weather apps and websites for clear skies, right? Because if there's cloud cover, you're not going to be able to do much unless you were looking for a particular cloud. There's a bunch of solutions to address this, whether it's on the web, an app on your phone. Um, I mentioned atmospheric earlier. That just happens to be the one that I prefer these days. It is available on pretty much every platform, right? You have your Android, iOS, and on the web page. Does anyone use a different app for checking the weather conditions, see if it's cloudy, things like that? Am I to believe everyone here uses atmospheric?
I use atmospheric.
Okay. Am I saying it wrong? Astropspheric.
Weather channel.
Weather channel. Yeah, I put atmospheric. It's astropspheric, my bad. Uh, so the reason why I actually like astropspheric, I'll have to update that slide, is it just, I find it very intuitive and easy to use. And that's probably the best tool that you'll find, right? One that you're able to use regularly. You don't have to do any calculus to figure out what's going on. In essence, I just let it know my location and then check, when am I going to go outside? So I took this around, let's say 3:45 this afternoon, forecasting it for around 8 p.m. for today. And that's what we are expected to see. A nice clear sky. Granted, this could always change. It could be inaccurate. But at 3:45 this afternoon, this is what it was forecasting. And it's been pretty good so far. I don't think I've ever been truly disappointed with the forecast that I received from the app. So I continue to use it. Granted, if that were to change, I might have to find something else. But there are other layers that you can switch to. This one here, does anyone want to guess what that one's for? Smoke. Yeah. So if there's smoke effect, so clouds may be clear, but if there's a wildfire and the smoke happens to be going in this direction, that of course will affect your conditions for viewing. And there's a bunch of other options that I won't go into, but underneath this map on the app, you will see this. So here you can toggle to any of the hours upcoming all the way through, in the case of this screenshot, Friday at 10 a.m. So all the way through, or is that 10 p.m.? Astrospheric, that one right there. In fact, I'm gonna go into it in a moment just to do like a live demo. But here you have a lot of other information, even like the sundown, sun up times, similar with the moon for your location, when it will be visible, the wind conditions, what direction it's coming from, the temperature. I think that's the dew point as well underneath this bottom blue line. But then here, like a summary of each of the different things that it's offering to us. So cloud cover, 0%, and I think these are different models, what they predict. Transparency above average, wind, temperature, etc. So a lot of information, a lot to help you prepare for your telescope session. So I'm going to go back and then click into all right. So hopefully you can still see the screen. And then if you just saw it, it just switched over to my current location. And then it's showing current conditions. But if I were to go to 8 o'clock, you can see if I pull up my screenshot again. So it has changed a little bit from what it was showing earlier for this time. We'll go outside and take a look once I'm done talking, but hopefully we'll be able to catch some stuff. What's nice is for all of these icons, I can click onto them and then get like a little blurb as to how to read the forecast, what every icon means, what the different shades of blue are, right? So if I wanted to maybe dig deeper into clouds, gives you this slide where that dark blue is essentially what you're aiming for. That's your 0% clear skies. But as it gets closer to completely white, that's not favorable, right?
The dark is good.
Correct. Good rule of thumb. And then it does this for every of the other icons and things that it shows, so you can get more familiarized with the app and the website as to what all the different icons mean. And I'll go into this later, but typically in our club meetings, we go over the seeing conditions. So this would be part of the presentation where we take a look and see for around the time when we're expected to go outside, it should be clear or it'll be cloudy, it's raining, we won't be able to do telescope observing today. Um, but there's also a part where we discuss who's up there tonight. And I like to include this screenshot where it shows the current moon phase, what the next ones are. Um, and then we'll also look at a different app for what planets will be visible at what time. Any questions on astrophere?
Is it just an app or is it? What's the time you go to it?
So it's
It's both.
yes. Yeah, so the question was if this is an app or a web page, it's available through both. So you could go on your smartphone and access it through the web page or download the dedicated app for it. All right. So keeping in that same thread of planning ahead, right? So now we know the weather conditions. Now we're really dressing for the occasion. So today, maybe, well, I have my sweater there, which is great. Hat and gloves, I actually did bring. Bug spray, don't really need it today. However, in the summer months, if I were to take my telescope outside, my legs would be bit like you wouldn't believe. Mosquitoes love me. So I do have to plan ahead and make sure I pack the bug spray if I'm going somewhere and taking the telescope with me, because if I'm going to be out there for a while, I would like to be able to, not be in discomfort, and bug spray will help with that. So it's really just making sure that you have everything lined up to have a successful telescope session. And then, of course, we do need to check who is coming to the star party and when, because it might be great that I have tomorrow off. I'll go outside tonight and I can sleep in the morning. But if I'm really looking for a particular object to observe, we should really be checking to see whether or not it'll be available, because they're not always out there. And I've listed here two apps. One is Skyview, available on iPhone and Android phones. But then Stellarium is really the one that I've stuck to, I would say, the most. It's available on both platforms as well as a web page. Now, does anyone use anything besides Skyview and Stellarium? There are a ton of apps out there. Sky Safari, I think it's another popular one. But the idea is there's a wealth of options available to us in this day and age. And it'd be great to take advantage of them and use them to have a successful night. So here's a screenshot of Stellarium, and I did change this to tonight at around 7:48 in the evening. If I were to face southeast, this is what I would expect to see. So facing that direction, I should be able to see these constellations, Jupiter, even Uranus is next to Pleiades, which is interesting. And then Orion, his belt, and so forth. And then there's also this little tab that you can go into that shows the planet's visibility. So instead of having to traverse every single hour on the app to see, well, when is this particular object going to be out? At least as it relates to planet's visibility, I can just take a look at this chart and say, all right, well, I won't be able to see the moon. It won't be visible after 150, where it'll go below the horizon for my location. However, Jupiter will be available from 4:16 all the way until 7 in the morning. So maybe that's the one that I want to shoot for tonight. Does anyone have any questions around the chart and how to read it? One of the other ways is it does have a search feature. In fact, I'm going to open up Stellarium now, and we'll take a look at it together. Oops.
Here, you have to type it in.
Yeah, got it. Okay. No problem. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Well, it estimated it pretty well. So now we're looking at 08816, and I'm going to have to move this. This is currently set to tonight at 7:22, so current conditions. But if I know, well, we won't be out there until maybe around, let's say 7:55. Now I can go ahead and navigate the night sky. And it already calls out some of the items, but if I wanted to search, I could. So we'll go ahead and search the moon. But as you can see, it brought us below the horizon because we did see after 1 o'clock, it was no longer going to be visible. So now maybe what I want to do, I really do have my eyes set on the moon. I'll go ahead and traverse the hours until it's above the horizon. And well, it won't be until around 6, 7 in the morning that it'll just be over the horizon. Account for trees, so maybe wait for it to be a little bit higher in the sky. Maybe around 10 o'clock, I can now go outside and take a look at the moon. And in fact, we can zoom in and see just how much of it will be visible. In fact, it'll show us the visibility here and the phase at 5%. So again, there's a wealth of information. It could be a little overwhelming to use in the beginning, but if you allow yourself some grace to navigate it, learning the different capabilities that are available, you'll find a lot of good use out of tools such as this. Some of the things that are also here, so as you saw in the screenshot that I shared on the slide, I did have, I think, the constellations on, maybe not the constellation art, but that's available to us, as well as the atmosphere. So I can turn this off. And this is what we would expect to see if we didn't have as much light pollution as we do. So I like to keep this on so I don't get depressed. And there's a bunch of other toggles here. I think Paul is the one who introduced me to this landscape option where you can actually take a 360 of your backyard, since we're talking about backyard astronomy, and then it will overlay over this. So instead of it being these generic trees and buildings, it will be your actual backyard. I haven't figured out how to do it. To be honest, I haven't dedicated time to look into it, but it does sound pretty cool. Have you done it?
Oh, yes. It's absolutely indispensable for planning, like, if I'm doing a mosaic or something that's going to take a couple of nights, indispensable.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you might say, well, I want to take a look at this particular object, but as the night traverses, well, this tree is not going to be in the way and it's going to ruin those shots after a certain time. So again, that's just one of the options. There are a bunch available to us. And we'll continue on the slides. And just really quickly, this is another app that's available. It's really neat. If anyone has seen the International Space Station, has anyone seen it? A couple? Yeah. It's pretty remarkable how you see it just zooming across the night sky. You would never think more, yeah, it's probably just a plane or a satellite, no big deal, but that's the International Space Station. There are people on it. But the app does a really nice job of sending you an alert leading up to the time that you can expect it to see it overhead. So you're well prepared, maybe 15 minutes ahead of time. And then it'll show you in which direction to face. It'll even do like a augmented reality view. So you can point your phone up and check to see where the trajectory will be going over. So you make sure to look in that direction and you don't miss it. And then it has a countdown. It does show future ones as well. But I thought I'd share another app that's available to see who's up there tonight. Right. So here I wrote, come prepared. The idea really is pretty much have everything that you think you may need and then some. When I do, so this is a better picture of the telescope that I have and use. This one here, just because you have the truck and the gate open, so you could maybe estimate what it looks like if you haven't seen it already. But I do have this cart, or I did have this cart wagon that I would drag it in, just because it is pretty bulky and big. I've since copied what Paul's dad has, which is the wheels on the base of the telescope itself, just to make it easier and maneuverable. It did take me a year to install, but that's neither here nor there. And then what else did I write? Do move your telescope outside, especially in the winter months, 30 minutes before you plan to observe. So this allows the telescope, if you're keeping it inside in a nice warm place, to really acclimate to the outside conditions. And that way you don't have to spend your time outside waiting for it to do so. Just put it outside, go back inside, and then wait about 30 minutes or so, and you'll be good to go. Now I wrote headlamp. I think I forgot mine tonight, but does anyone know why it needs to be red? Why we can't just use a regular flashlight? Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be out there. Our eyes will get used to the dark, and we don't want to have to reset it each and every time if we're maybe looking for an eyepiece or something with a regular flashlight. So they do have these particular red light headlamps and flashlights specifically for astronomy where it won't reset your night vision, like you said. A comfy chair, if you do plan to go and stay with your telescope, especially if it's a visual telescope, not a fancy smart telescope, where you can set it outside and then run back inside like someone I know. A comfy chair, again, all those little things that will make a difference to you spending more time with your telescope outside is what we're trying to convey here. Tripod and phone mount, if you do plan to do some astrophotography, whether it's with your phone on the eyepiece or a lot of phones, I think maybe all smartphones at this point do have a astrophotography mode where if you set it up on a tripod and it detects no movement, it'll switch to that mode and then be able to take a 4-minute, at least on my phone, a 4-minute long exposure of the night sky, capturing as much light as possible, and then having this nice picture where you can actually see the stars. I actually really do like that feature a lot. Laser pointer I put on there, but I think that's really more for if you are maybe in a group. So if I'm outside with my kids and I'm pointing something out, it is very difficult to convey something that's so far away using just my finger. So that does help. However, I will say you do want to be very careful. You don't want to point it if there are any planes nearby in that vicinity that you're pointing to, right? Because we don't want to end up on a federal list. So I think I might take that one out in the next presentation, actually. Yeah.
See when you use the laser bearer, can you actually see the laser line go through the atmosphere?
Yeah, so it's not like this laser, it's more powerful. The one that I have is green, but I don't know if there are different colors, they might be, but it is more powerful and you will see the line emanate from the laser up until a certain distance. And so it will allow me to point something out easily to my son, let's say. But yeah, it is more powerful than these guys. And I wrote small table. pretty much anything. If you're going to have additional equipment like a laptop like I have here, because I did have a camera hooked up to my telescope, connected to my computer. So having something there just makes things a lot easier. Again, just looking for that ease of use. Any questions on this section? Okay. Again, if you do have, well, maybe you bring something else that I haven't mentioned or thought of. If you do have suggestions like that, please let me know. All right. So seeking out resources and help. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention books in the library. Turn Left at Orion has been probably one of the more commonly referenced books in terms of for folks starting off in the hobby. So if you want to take a look afterwards, just come up and take a look. It does a nice job of breaking things down, talking about the telescope and how it's not all about magnification. There are other things that you do want to consider. So books like that are very popular. I believe as part of the telescope kit here at the East Brunswick Public Library, the Backyard Guide to the Night Sky is available through that, which is awesome. I took that book out a couple years ago, and it was pretty useful. Yes.
Of how we see the sky. Starting with 5, but I thought it was very good in terms of giving an overall orientation of our, being on the planet and kind of how it rotates and that kind of thing. So I just thought it was very well written book, so I do recommend.
And to repeat, that was How We See the Sky? Okay. Thank you for that. Any other book recommendations? I'll have to check that one out. And then I'm a huge believer in YouTube University. If there's anything that I have trouble with or need to learn, that's kind of my go-to where I'll go and see if there's a video on how to do XYZ. You'll be surprised what's up there. But there are official channels like the NASA YouTube channel where they have a monthly series called What's Up. And so at the start of every month, they'll do a video on what's going to be up during the next month. So the January one should be out already. February will be out probably at the start of the month, but it'll tell you the moon phases to expect, any astronomical events to look out for, meteor showers, things like that. So you'll be well in the know and be able to plan your telescope session, knowing that the maybe meteor shower will start in 2 weeks. I'll dedicate some time then to look out for it. Bless you. And then certainly a lot of tutorials on specific equipment. So if I'm having trouble with my 10-inch Dobsonian telescope, maybe I want to search on Google and YouTube 10-inch Dobsonian and then whatever it is that I'm having trouble with. And you'll be surprised. You'll find folks that have dedicated time to record a video on such a problem. But that's my first go-to. You can then search other forums and things, which I think I'll talk about later. But then even places like High Point Scientific, I bought a lot of stuff from them. But they also have their own monthly series called, I think they might also call it What's Up. But in essence, again, what astronomical events are coming up in the next month, so you can use your gear to take a look. But then they'll also do product reviews and things of that sort. I try not to look at those because I think my wife will kill me at this point if I buy another telescope. And Paul, I actually stole this from one of your presentations. You mentioned Queeve,
Yep.
the Lazy Geek. So he has a YouTube channel. I've also checked out his product reviews on particular gear, smart telescopes and things of that sort. And so, however you like to consume information, I would suggest going down that route and being able to look into, bettering your hobby as you get into astronomy. But these are just a few examples. Does anyone have a favorite YouTuber that goes over astronomy, maybe?
Astro Backyard.
Astro Backyard?
Maybe Mr. Alexandra or think that's it.
I think I follow her on Instagram.
Yeah,
That brings up a good point, actually. They're not just on YouTube now, right? So you can probably go to their Facebook and Instagram pages and still be able to get educated on certain things.
see it on essentially Facebook Reels, which is basically just TikToks, not on TikTok.
They say Facebook Reels are 2-week-old TikToks, pretty much.
A lot of these guys are active on Facebook and they will respond to comments and questions.
Nice. That's awesome. Cool. And then continuing with resources, I've included here things like Facebook groups, or really any other forum that's dedicated to that particular thing that you're interested in. So if you are looking to delve further into astrophotography, there are dedicated Facebook groups and forums that go into that. And it's a great place to see what other issues folks have encountered, how did they overcome it, or really ask your own question and see if you get some help. But I've included there is a New Jersey Aurora Chasers Facebook group apparently. So, you know, there's a bunch of stuff out there. And then certainly finding local astronomy clubs, which you have done. Good on you. NASA does have a resource available out there if you did not know, the NASA Night Sky Network. So on there, you can put your zip code and then see what local astronomy clubs are available. I'm very proud to say that we were able to join the Night Sky Network last year, which is awesome, gives us some visibility and credibility. But yeah, if perhaps there's someone out there who we may see in the February meeting that is looking to get started in the hobby, they use this resource, find an astronomy club nearby, and then goes to their meetings. So again, finding that sort of community is helpful. And we do encourage you to bring your telescopes if you're having issues, or if you just want to join in on the fun, that's fine too. But the idea is we'll learn together and maybe even help you through your journey. Okay. And this is probably the most important one, patience and practice. So like any new hobby or new thing that you may be trying out, it is important to give it its fair shot. In the beginning, it may be very frustrating and hard. And I would say astronomy does have that steep learning curve. Astrophotography even more so, as Paul rolls his eyes. But but you know, if you do enjoy it, it's worth to stick around and try. These aren't even the first images that I took of, well, what would you say that first one at the top is? Jupiter? You're very generous. But it is Jupiter. It is Saturn. These are one of the first images that I took many years ago. But certainly not the first. The first ones were even more terrible. But the idea is, you know, continuing to try, leaning on those resources, coming to astronomy clubs like ours. The idea is we will find that help that we're looking for. I'm still not done on my journey, but considering where I was, I would say that's a vast improvement with my Jupiter, getting the big red spot there and seeing more details of the striations. Even my Saturn and the moon, but there's still so much more that I can improve on. And I actually do have it as one of my goals this year is to spend more time imaging objects. I really haven't done that in the last year or two. But we'll see what 2026 brings. All right.
I think that our area would be challenged by light pollution.
Very true.
That doesn't apply to planets, you know, because it's pretty bright and anybody can pretty much get good viewings and good pictures of planets there. That's maybe something people would focus on.
No, that does bring up a good point.
So,
That does bring up a good point, right? We do also have to consider our current location. There are things that are out of our control, but we will fight the street lights that when we go outside and try to view the whatever we can. Um, and those pictures, I'm almost 100% certain these three were in East Brunswick. But like you said, right, the planets may not be as much of a struggle to achieve.
fact, with planets, sometimes hazy and a little overcast isn't bad because then it can also be very steady. That's scary.
It's like a filter.
Things online.
Yes.
First one, please share your bug spray preferences. And some are better than others.
Ah, I did try off. I found it did nothing. I forget that. I don't remember the one that really did work for me, but it was like extra strength, and I probably wouldn't recommend it.
The deep.
Ah,
so it's-
that's what it was.
The deep one works better than any of the other ones.
Yeah.
Second that.
I also, mosquitoes love me, so I've learned over the years.
Also, someone has a comment. They recently learned that the Environmental Commission is working on creating a dark sky area in town. I don't know anything more than that.
Could you, what was the first part?
Recently learned that EVEC, which I think is the Environmental Commission, is
Ooh,
working on creating a dark sky area for stargazing. I don't know anything specific yet.
huh.
So
I think we've got some topics to chase now.
We're gonna have to talk afterwards, whoever wrote that comment. Okay. Got it. No, that would be very exciting. Very, very exciting. Any other questions, comments?
Comment. One of the tips that really drilled home for both me and my dad, make it comfortable and convenient.
Mhm.
Because if it's a pain to drag out your telescope, you're not gonna do it.
just because there are people who are online, so I want to make sure they can hear me too.
No, that's an excellent point. And I think maybe the undertones of what I was trying to get to is, in essence, make it as easy and comfortable as you possibly can. Have everything that you need. Be prepared and don't be, freezing if we're going out tonight. Just so that you can spend the adequate amount of time with your equipment and take in what you can. Any other tips that folks have had success with or think it may help someone who's maybe new in the hobby?
There's someone who has questions, so I want them to be able to.
So, and one more tip, dry run new gear during the day
Ah,
before you need to use it at night and can't see.
that's an excellent one, actually, because in our excitement, right, we're thinking, oh, I'm gonna go out tonight and I'm gonna take it out of the packaging and it's gonna be so awesome. But doing it during the day, it's a lot easier to configure and set up, and
Read the instructions.
you can, yes, exactly.
Yeah, can you address, because some of the people here may not have a telescope, can you address the initial basics and, we keep saying, take your equipment out and so forth. We're not talking about what kind of equipment. What should a new person buy or consider?
Mm.
How do they align? Do they need to align anything? Do they, those basic questions? Maybe you could address a few of those.
Yeah, so today we didn't really go into any specifics with equipment. The reason being, it kind of wanted it to be agnostic as to whether you had a tabletop Dobsonian or a large one or something that uses a different mount altogether. But I think going back to Paul's tip of maybe setting up that new telescope, whatever it is, during the day is your best bet, just so that you can manage it in the daylight. Even setting up like a new finder scope, they tell you to do it during the day, or if something bright as the moon is out, so that it can be done easily, or using your neighbor's chimney and pointing to that. With regards to new equipment, in terms of like a recommendation as to what to use to begin?
Not a specific brand or anything, but just
Like a type?
yeah, what type of telescope, for example, is the best choice for a beginner?
That's very subjective. However, some folks would say don't even start with the telescope. Do opt for the binoculars to begin with and get familiarized with navigating the night sky. Um, Personally, I did not begin that way, nor do I know many folks that did. We kind of do sort of get excited and order that initial telescope to begin with and make that leap. However, I think there's a lot of benefit to start maybe with a good set of binoculars. If we just don't like the binoculars and we do want a telescope, I do like the small tabletop Dobsonian telescopes. There is one, I think, available through the East Brunswick Library Lenders Kit. Um, it's similar to the one that I have that I've shown on the slides. However, it's small. You set it up on a table and it's very easy to navigate. Up, down, left, right. You're not messing with weights or anything like that. But you can still get decent views of the moon and things. And I think that's probably one of the better places to begin with.
So this person has 2 questions. Hello, a complete amateur here. We got a telescope for Christmas. Are additional attachments such as Barlows and filters really worth that extra money? So that's the first question. Do you buy all the attachments and accessories and dongles and doohickeys?
I don't, well,
Immediately?
yeah, I think, oh, I would love that. So I'll say my answer first. Oh, let's go here.
My suggestion would be work with what you got, know what these other options can do to
Mhm.
improve it, and you'll figure out on your own whether you want them or not in time. Like if you've got a certain set of lenses and they only give you a certain magnification, and your thing is I need more magnification, and you'll know that a Barlow lens will do that for you relatively economically, then you would go in and buy a Barlow lens. But I wouldn't go out and buy a whole bunch of stuff until you personally get to the point where you say, that's the next step, and that's when I need to go on.
Yeah.
I did with the binoculars, what you suggested. I was about, I don't know how old at the time, not all that old, but I told my father I wanted a telescope because he used to build little ones out of cardboard tubes and stuff. And his advice was, I'll get you binoculars. When you think you're ready, let me know. I got the binoculars. They were fantastic for about 3 months.
Mhm.
And then I had to have a telescope, but it was a very logical progression. I still have the binoculars. I'm
Nice.
sure you can buy something comparable to that,
Wow.
10 by 50s or, and I got them at Sears for $50 and I still use them. And they're a lot easier to drag out than a telescope.
Yeah.
Cold night.
Very, very true. I will tell you personally, I did start off with, I think it was probably $70 or $80 off Amazon, this tiny telescope on a tripod. And I don't know that I could see much besides the moon. And even then it was like, uh, there's probably better ways to do this. But that was sort of my stepping stone. And I did start in this hobby pretty late. It wasn't until I won't put a year to it, but I had since moved outside of Queens, New York, very light polluted. I don't even think I looked up at the night sky then, but it wasn't until I moved to Staten Island where I could finally take a peek up and see, oh, there are stars up there. It's not just if I go out to Arizona that I'll be able to see stars in the night sky. And that's sort of when it started, and I started to mess with my phone and setting it up in the right way to be able to take a long exposure and the $70 Amazon telescope to begin with. But eventually I did jump from that to that ginormous thing that I have now. But yes, I think stepping stones like that are necessary. Jumping to that big behemoth is not advisable, I think, for anyone.
So I have a second question.
Yes.
And I'm getting delayed hearing myself and it's driving me crazy. Here's a fun one. What is an ideal local park or location in New Jersey where you can minimize obstructions? And then everyone's like, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
local, again, we're getting into that subjective area, but I never not recommend UACNJ, United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. They're out in Hope, New Jersey, Jenny Jump State Forest. It is an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes away. However, it is away from the city lights. And I'm telling you, as soon as I get out of the car and look up, it's almost as if someone just sprinkled stars in the night sky, and you can see them just very clearly. And they have awesome Saturday programs March through October. It's free to the public. I think it starts at 8 o'clock. Highly, highly, highly recommend.
Does anyone else in the group have spots that they're willing to share? It's only 3 people online. You're not going to have to worry about, an army of people coming. No.
I don't know. I stick to my backyard. Yeah.
But maybe if there is going to be this dark sky viewing area, maybe that will be,
Well,
we'll
I
have to
mean,
figure that out.
certainly stay tuned to that, as well as the East Brunswick Astronomy Club. We are working on bigger and better things, and hopefully we get to the point where we can host our own star party here locally, elsewhere, whatever the case may be. But like I said at the onset of the meeting, we are just now beginning our 3rd year, but we are ambitious. Anything else?
That's all I have from online. Does anyone else have tips? We have some serious people here. If they have tips that they could think of sharing to someone who clearly is new, is there anything you would want to share that Isaac hasn't?
Yes, please.
Because I think they would be excited to know.
Don't do like I did. Don't start with astrophotography. It's very technical and kind of hard to get right the first time. It looks attractive on the surface because one of really the only way you can get out of light pollution in this area is to go really deep into like filters, and sometimes long exposure photography. But the buy-in is steep. Like you can probably get you're going to spend several $100s at least on one of these small smart telescopes like the Sea-Star, which are good. Do not get me wrong. They're very good for what they are. They're convenient, extraordinarily so. They come with a little box a nice little carrying case. They got built-in batteries. They hook right up to your smartphone. They're go-to. So it means like when you search for the thing that you want to look at in your phone, the app has a very nice Stellarium-esque interface that lets you search for things or just kind of scroll across the sky, pick something you want to see, and then it is really cool, honestly, the first time you say, let me see that, and the motor's all kicking in, off it goes in the sky to find the thing you want to look at. They start at somewhere between $300 and $600. But unfortunately, that usually, if you like those, you get bit by the bug, and now you're going to spend $6,000 on proper astrophotography, telescope and camera and filter wheel and setup. So be prepared for what you're potentially getting into.
Anyone else?
Comment. I'm a little beyond beginner, but I feel like certainly in the beginner circle, I think learning the sky without any instrumentation is really one of the more important aspects. So I kind of suggested that book earlier because I feel like it gives you a real overview of how rotation of the Earth relative to the stars, how things rise, directionality from where you are is very important things. And at the same time, I feel like I kind of follow in the footsteps of Galileo. It's like I'd rather have a wide field view and kind of see something that, Jupiter, that's not that, but it's a dot, but maybe you can detect the moons. It's learning how to see. It's learning what to look at and what to look for. And I feel like that's a very important thing because we get bogged down in the technology now, and you want this image, or using a Sea-Star, you're right back on your phone, you're right back on an iPad, right? You
Yeah.
want to see it for yourself. And I think the important thing is looking through an eyepiece and see what you can see and learn how to look at it. So that would be my suggestion. So if that means binoculars or, just looking through a telescope that is kind of a more wide field view and see what you can see that's my perspective as a beginner. So that would be my suggestion.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
I'd like to mention, the book you mentioned, I checked, it's available on Amazon for about $9.
Exactly.
So
You
it's
could buy
very
it used
expensive.
for almost nothing.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for that. All right. I'm just going to go quickly through these next slides. So UACNJ, we are a partner club of theirs, and so we do like to promote their events as well. However, during November through March is their off season, so they'll have presentations on YouTube. So don't go to Jenny Jump until they open up back up in March. Instead, check out their YouTube page and see their presentations live streamed on Saturdays.
Moving onwards to our upcoming East Brunswick Astronomy Club events, we have our February meeting happening on Thursday, February 19th. This is actually going to be our first kids meeting of the year, where kids of all ages are invited to come and learn about planetary atmospheres. It'll be held here at the East Brunswick Public Library starting at 6:30 p.m. And just as a reminder, we do try to hold the kids meeting once a quarter. So every 3 months, we'll have kids activities and things of that nature. So be sure to save the date.
Keep up to date with everything that's going on with the East Brunswick Astronomy Club. Best way to do that is on Facebook and Instagram. Give us a follow. You'll be up to date on all of our upcoming events, outreach events. Once we do get to start parties and things, we'll promote it that way. But that is the best way to see if any time changes, upcoming events, and things of that sort.